What's going on YouTube? I'm Big Yao, aka Simply Gizmos, and this is my hands-on look at the Sony Xperia Z. Now this is Sony's 2013 flagship handset, and they are billing it as the best of Sony in a smartphone, which is quite a big claim. I mean, I first heard about this handset tail end of last year when in an interview with the Financial Times of Germany, they announced they were bringing out an all-singing, all-dancing, high-end smartphone to compete with the Samsung Galaxies and Apple iPhones of this world. And when you look at their history, you know, these guys are credited with inventing portable music. They were big in hi-fi, they're big in TV with the original Triniton, Sony Bravias, they're big in photography, they're big in video. When you make a statement like the best of Sony in a smartphone, you got a lot to live up to. So I'm going to take a closer look at the handset. I've been using it for a couple of weeks. I've had a little bit of experience with it. I'm going to give you my experiences, my opinions, and take a closer look at it, see what you think. Now the Xperia Z is an absolutely serious bit of kit. For those of you that are impressed by specs, yeah, you will like this one. It's got a quad-core Snapdragon S4 processor, 16 gigs of internal memory, it's got 2 gigabytes of RAM, it's also got expandable memory. In terms of connectivity, there are all the bits that you'd expect there. It's got near field, it's got Bluetooth, it's got MHL so that you can output to a HD TV, it's got Wi-Fi. The screen itself is a 5-inch full 1080p HD panel with opti-contrast, which in a nutshell means that it's less prone to reflection and gives you clearer viewing. It's got 2 cameras, a 13 megapixel camera on the back with LED flash. It's also got a 2 megapixel on the front, and both of these cameras sport Sony's Xperia RS imaging processor and has HDR. Now what that means, HDR is high dynamic range. What that means is that you can get the best results whether it be low light or if it's a strongly backlit situation, regardless. And that Xperia processing is on the front and rear cameras. With regard to the screen, it also brings in some of Sony's expertise from their TV range in the Bravia Engine 2. Now it's especially developed for mobile, and what it's supposed to do, it's essentially an algorithm that adjusts contrast and sharpness to give the best image or picture depending on what's being displayed on the screen. So, a little bit about what you get in the box. Obviously you get the phone, you get a couple of screen protectors, front and rear. So a set of headphones, mains charger, some tips for the headphones, a USB cable that also doubles up for charging, instruction manuals and warranty information. Okay, so taking a closer look at the design of the handset, it's a glass sandwich design that uses dragon tail glass on the front and the popular Corning Gorilla Glass on the rear. Now what that means is that the glass is very, very durable. The dragon tail glass is supposed to be even more durable, scratch resistant, shatter resistant and all the rest of it than Corning's Gorilla Glass, which has got to be a positive thing. And to reinforce that, it uses a glass fiber polyamide, which is basically the same material as they use as a metal substitute in car parts. Going around the device, other than the machined aluminium button on the side and the rocker for the volume, there are no physical hardware buttons. It's quite symmetrical, it does feel quite nice in the hand, it has got a very, very premium feel to it. And yeah, the only downside is it is quite angular, so it's not the most ergonomic device in the hand, and I think it's a bit like Marmite. You will either love it or absolutely hate it. I don't think you'll sit anywhere in between. On the front you've got a 2 megapixel camera, you've also got a light sensor and the notification indicator at the top there. At the bottom you've got a noise cancelling microphone, the lanyard strip on the side here, the output for the speaker, the hardware buttons that we came to, and because the device is water resistant, all the ports on it are sealed. In respect to that water resistance, It is water resistant rather than waterproof, so you're not going to be going deep sea diving with your handset anytime soon, but it does seem to work quite well. So if I show you here, let's just get this film going here. Let's just take that back out of there. I don't know if you can catch that, but that is the Life of Pi playing there under water. Okay, I'm back. Just had to dry that off quickly. Now that I have, I'll continue with the hardware tour. So up at the top of the device, you've got the earpiece. Down the bottom, quite symmetrically, you've got the microphone, which just mirrors the look of that. On the right hand side of the device, one of those flappy ports that I was talking about. This one here covers the SIM card tray. You've got another one on the top right hand side for, there we go, for the headphones. To the top left hand side of the device, you've got a flap that covers the charging port, and that's also used to output MHL to HDMI. Got the SD card slot just here. And to the left of that, you've got these two connectors. Let's just get them there. Those two connectors are for charging when it is docked in the optional docking station. Unfortunately, it is not included. On the reverse of the device, you've got the 13 megapixel camera sensor, a flash, and finally what I believe to be a noise cancelling microphone. And that is about it with regard to the hardware. One thing of note is that this is the black version, however the bezel itself around the edges is not black. I don't know if you can quite catch that, but it is like a dark bluish sort of colour. It makes a really nice contrast to the black, and I think it's a nice touch. So in terms of software, the handset ships with Android Jelly Bean. It's version 4.1.2. That is not the latest version, however Sony have promised Sony have promised that they will send out that update as soon as possible, and when I checked this morning there was an update available, so I will be doing that later, but I just wanted you to get a feel for the handset as it was when it shipped to me. As I said, Android 4.1.2, it is skinned quite nicely. It's Sony's own customization. It's not as heavy as Samsung's TouchWiz or HTC Sense, but it does lead to quite a fast, fluid, responsive sort of action on the phone. And they've also added some really nice animations. So if I go to the home screen and I wanted to get rid of one of these icons, for example, as I drag that down to the bin, you see the bin opens up quite nicely and then disappears. It's quite cool, I like it a lot. And Sony have added a lot of their own software as well, trying to bring you into the Sony universe. So if I just go over and I'll have a look at some of these. So you've got Sony Select to the top right here, and what that is app suggestion type of software. So it takes a second to load, sorry to keep you waiting. But basically it will just suggest various apps that you may find useful or interesting off a marketplace. It also does music. Outside of there, there's Sony Music Unlimited. This is Sony's music service, streaming service, a bit like Spotify. I'm not completely sold with it, but it is nice to see them make an attempt to bring you into their own universe. Away from that, let's come away. You've got PlayStation Mobile. Again, Sony trying to integrate all their products, platforms and services and combine them within the smartphone platform. And once that's loaded, you can have a look for various games and bits and pieces, buy them and download them straight to your handset. And if we come back, there's a video service, Play Memories, which is kind of a photo upload type of service. They've got their own type of marketplace in Play Now, got their own navigation software. You've got the Walkman app, you know, it's basically a music player but Sony branded. track ID, which is much like Shazam. Sorry, I'll put my tea back in. Shazam, or what's that other one? Soundhound? Yeah, that's the one. Social Life is a social app, and Xperia Link for sharing bits and pieces. Okay, so in terms of performance, the Xperia Z performs admirably. In Geekbench it registers a score of 2042, which actually puts it above the Nexus 4 and a fair bit above the Galaxy Note 2, which is a bit of a powerhouse, so you know, that's quite a respectable score. In Antutu it registers a score of 16,436, and that places it above the Galaxy S3, slightly below the Galaxy Note 2, and some way off the Galaxy S4, but I'm not sure whether that's been confirmed because the handset hasn't been officially released yet. And finally, in Quadrant Standard, it scores a whopping 8,118 and puts it somewhere above the older HTC One X. You know, they are just benchmarks, and how real world are they? Well, to be completely honest, in terms of gaming, the handset delivers a beautiful performance. It's also really nice for watching movies. However, the screen does look a little bit washed out if you view it off axis, but in real world that's not that big an issue because none of us actually turns our phone off axis to look at it. Okay, so coming off of performance, that leads me to battery life, and I'm going to be completely honest, this is where I think this device falls down a little bit. Now, it does have what's called stamina mode, which gives you details of how much time you're going to get in standby. It also means that when you turn the device off, what it'll do is it'll turn off radios, turn off Wi-Fi, turn off Bluetooth, disable any apps that are working in the background to extend that life. But unfortunately, if you are playing a game or watching a movie, I have gone from full battery to dead in 3 hours, and that is not cool. But normal usage, I tend to get about 8 hours off of it. Is that enough for you? That's a question only you can answer, but for me it falls some way short of the mark, and particularly because it doesn't have a removable battery. I'm used to using a Galaxy Note 2. It's got a big huge battery. I'm able to charge a spare battery and swap it over when the first one's dead, leaving a second one on charge in the office. So you know, the battery life is a little bit of a deal breaker for me, but to be honest, it is a really powerful phone with a really impressive screen, so there has to be a trade-off, and unfortunately I do think that battery life is going to be it. Finally, I'm going to take a look at the camera. Basically, Sony do bring some of their cybershot expertise to the camera on this device. It has what is called superior auto, meaning that it auto senses whether you're filming a document, whether you're working in low light, a macro setting, and automatically adjusts. And 95% of the time, it does seem to get it right. However, with the pictures that it does take, whilst they are at 13 megapixel resolution and they do look incredibly detailed, I do find that the pictures are a little bit on the soft side. They lack a little bit of sharpness, and the Bravia engine does great things to bring out the colours. So if you have a look on the bus, it seems really red. If you turn the Bravia engine off, if you have a look, the bus doesn't seem quite as bright anymore. Like I said, there is lots and lots of detail in the images, but they just lack a bit of sharpness if you ask me. But I suspect that is something that Sony will revise in that update they put out today, by the way. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. Okay guys and girls, that was my hands-on with the Sony Xperia Z, and overall I really like this handset. I think the build quality is really good. It's got a good camera. There is a little bit of room for improvement on that, but I'm sure Sony will address that with their next software update. One thing of note though is that as at right now, Wi-Fi reception on this device is absolutely awful, in its own league of awful. It crashes my router periodically. If other people in the house are using Wi-Fi, they know as soon as I get on because their whole thing slows down. If you're one that streams media or video to other devices like I do, you haven't got a hope of getting through an album, not even the first track. You won't get a chapter into a film. It is bad, but I'm hoping that today's update is going to address that, and I will report back on that shortly. The other thing that I really didn't like about this phone was the headphones. I know that Sony are capable of making really good headphones, and they're by no means terrible, but when compared to the bundled headphones that come with the Galaxy S3 And the Note 2 and other Galaxy devices, honestly, they leave a little bit to be desired. After all, this is a £500 smartphone, and Sony invented portable music. I do expect a little bit more. They lack separation. Yeah, they got a fairly detailed sound, but they're lifeless, and I just don't think it's good enough. But in closing, great handset. If you like Sony devices, or even if you like the style of it, if you get an opportunity, go down to a retailer and check it out. It is a really, really nice bit of kit. It's also available on Amazon. Links are below. And if you're in the market for a high-end smartphone, please also check out the HTC One and the upcoming Samsung Galaxy S4. I shall be doing reviews of both of those phones as soon as I can get hold of a unit. And it's also worth checking out the Google Nexus 4. I recently bought one of these as a replacement phone for my girlfriend because her Galaxy S2 came to a nasty end. But essentially, £500 smartphone, but with a £280 ticket price. Worth a looking. Yeah, I hope you find it useful. If you did find it useful, please like below. If you didn't like it, please give me some feedback. Press the dislike button. It's really useful. I do really need, if you like what I'm doing, I'd be grateful if you could subscribe to the channel. And as always, you can find me here on YouTube, you can find me on Instagram, you can find me on Blogger, you can find me on Twitter, and if all else fails, Google me, baby.